So I'll just make it as though I was making it in the workshop. Normally I would be standing up, but I've had knee surgery, so I'm going to be sitting down today. So that's a good excuse, I think, for sitting down. It's much easier actually if you do stand up, but it all depends on the level of your table and how big a wreath you're going to do. So today we're going to do a 12-inch wreath on a 12-inch ring, such as this. You can get these any, like I said, any wholesalers, any floral shops, although I went into a few garden centres because my supply hadn't come and I couldn't find exactly ones like this. So, but they're also fairly cheap. I mean, you have to buy them in 100, but it's only sort of £7 for 100. So this when people make this for a business, it's quite a lucrative business because if you don't mind buying bulk, then you know the costs are a lot cheaper. But most of the stuff I've got today, I've got from the landscape and from the garden, apart from the dried oranges and bits and bobs I've got. So there's no reason apart from the ring and the ribbon and the wire. It's pretty reasonable to make the price. So like I said, this is a 12-inch. You can get 10-inch, 14-inch, 16-inch. You don't have to use the wire. You can use willow, which I made. I had enough green willow to make a willow one. So I just cut some down and just fashioned it into a ring. So you can do that as well. But I also make what I do for myself. I make a square one with bits of twigs and raspberry canes, because the raspberry canes at this time of year are quite red, and I just put my dried flowers on with a ribbon at the bottom and off you go. So these are just bits and pieces which I've collected in the woods or whatever. So that's that. But for this session, we're going to be using a selection of conifers. And the first thing what we have to do is introduce the roll of wire. The roll of wire looks like this, the binding wire. And I've got to emphasize that it's important that you don't cut the wire until you've completely covered your wreath. So it's just such a hassle if you do that. And a lot of people, every time they put a little bit of greenery on, they cut it, tie it. It's just much easier. Don't worry about showing more wire than you think. You think, oh my God, I'm going to see all that wire. Because by the time you get all your foliage on, you're not going to see any wire at all. And also by the time you get your bits and bobs, I call them bits and bobs, but all these bits and bobs, basically, I don't know what else to call them. By the time you get these on, you're not going to see any wire, and I'm going to show you how to put these on without seeing wire as well. So my big thing is that I don't like seeing wire. But today, now traditionally, the back of to stop it scratching your door, I would have put moss on. I don't have much moss in my garden. I'm reluctant to go out in the landscape, even though in the borders were abundance of moss. But if you've got a bit of moss in your own garden you don't mind using, then you can cover the back of this with moss. But I'm using Leylandii. And I'm sure all of you, if you've got a Leylandii hedge, cut your hedge quite a few times. It's nice Leylandii because it's nice and soft, and you can manipulate it quite well to cover the ring. So this is what I'm using today, is Leylandii. I cut it from the village Leylandii hedge. Basically once you start, you attach your wire. So I've already attached the wire and done this bit, you can see. And then basically I'm just wrapping the wire, the binding wire, around the two. So a lot of people don't be tempted to put the wire in between the two rings. You're going round the whole ring. And so basically we just keep wrapping round and round until it's fairly covered at the back, And remember, this is the back, and this is the only time you'll be working on the back. The rest of the time you'll be working on the front. And like you can see, it doesn't really take much to cover it with the Leylandii. What I might do, I've got a little bit of a gap here, so I'll probably just get a little bit more here. Yeah, hopefully you've got the, did you want me to go through the supply list again? Are you okay with what you need today? You're okay? Yeah. So of course, you know, I'm putting it on this bit and my wire's over here. So I'm going to be very lavish and put more wire going all around here. But also it doesn't matter with the wire, because you can, as you can see, when I get towards the end and I don't want to see wire, I've got enough wire on there already. So when you get to come to put your fancy bits of conifer in, you can just shove them in and wedge them in.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me. The Leylandii, can you put it between the two rings?
No, it's much better to put it on top of the ring.
On top.
On top of the ring, because this is going to be the back. Okay, don't try and thread it. So if you've got some Leylandii, whoops, this is a big bit. And I'm a very messy worker. I just throw everything on the floor. But usually I'm working in a big greenhouse and it doesn't matter. So don't be tempted to sort of thread it in between like this. So it's just making it a lot more difficult and fiddly for you. So, and if you've got bits sticking out like this, it doesn't matter, because more than likely, unless you work very tightly, which a lot of people do, they want a tight wreath. I'm a bit more free-form. I like it a bit more over the place. So I don't actually mind bits sticking out like this, because by the time I get my other foliage on, you know, this 12-inch ring, your wreath's going to be about 16 inches by the time you get it on there, by the time you get your foliage on. So that's the back done. So you can see it's just covered. I've still got my wire attached. And now I'm going to be working on the front. And the front, you can see there's some ring showing, but it doesn't matter because we're going to cover that with some more foliage. So at this stage, you get a foliage from work.
Yeah. Is everybody keeping up, or do we just need to hold on for a second for people to catch up at this stage?
Can we catch up?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So do you have any questions at this stage? Anybody? How's everybody getting on? Okay. So how many people? I can see some people are not doing it, just watching, but I can see a couple of people are doing it. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's good. Smashing. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Penny, oh, sorry. Go on.
Penny, oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah.
Penny, can you use moss from your lawn? That's where I've got a lot of moss.
Oh yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah. Because I've got, where's my moss? Somewhere. Here we go. I got a nice bit of moss.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you know, I often wonder. I think, you know, and this has got some little weeds coming out, but I quite like it. You can see.
Yeah.
And what I do with this for a little bit, and if you buy moss online, it's the dried stuff, and it just when you start to do this, it just all disintegrates. So I think the Leylandii, I mean, I'm suggesting Leylandii, but any other soft conifer would do. But the other things that I'm using, like the juniper and stuff, it's a bit prickly. So sometimes you know, if you want to be careful of scratching your door, then, but yeah, with the moss, you know, at the end, I'll show you, I just make little clumps like this, and this becomes part of my decoration because it's a beautiful green. It's absolutely gorgeous. So I've just took up a little bit from the garden, and that's all you need. And do it like that. And I think there's a lot of little there's a lot of little creatures crawling around on my desk while so that's okay. So better than the poppies, as I had earlier. So has everybody got to this stage with that? And we're on the front, yeah?
Just about.
Okay, so you can see that the front, we've still got some ring showing, but that doesn't matter because now we're going to get onto the doing the front. So the front usually I get from wholesalers, or I cut down pine boughs, big boughs, but because I'm home and I've not got access this year to the wholesalers because it's in Edinburgh and I'm not driving yet, I went out in the landscape and I took some new. So basically what you use the pine or your base, so rather than the fancier stuff, and you do this as your base layer on your top. So normally you would be doing about 3 layers and it makes it nice and chunky and hefty, and it looks really nice. But again, it all depends how you like your wreath to look. So this I have, so this Taxus Vicata U. So I just have some woods down there and I got it from there. So the same thing applies as the back. You take your roll of wire and you're basically going around and putting this on so you can't see the gold ring or any other ring what you're using. The Oasis rings don't work quite as well, but you can do them, the Oasis rings. I've done demonstrations with many small Oasis rings, but they end up being table centre decorations rather than wreaths. So it seems to work a bit better. So you can see, I'm just building up the layers with the Taxus for you. And I'll just show you, when I say a bow, this is the sort of thing what you're looking for, rather than little bits of things, because it's just a lot more secure. So if you've got your wreath on your door and it's like today where the wind's galing and the rain's blowing, then it's a lot more secure. Otherwise you'll have your wreath floating all over the garden. But yeah, so we're just going to put this on. And usually, if you've got a bow this size, it's probably about 3 to go around the ring. And don't worry about it. Sometimes it starts looking not circle shape, but you know, it's like anything in your garden, prune or anything. You can manipulate anything to what you want. That's what you're going to do today. So you just bring it in. So you can see as I'm doing it, there's some gaps here, but that's okay because I'm going to put some other foliage there. Can everybody see what I'm doing okay? Yeah? Okay. How's everybody getting on with their second layer? Okay?
Not yet.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I'll do, I'm going to go around again and I'm going to put, so you can see it, it's all a bit all over the place at the moment, but by not cutting the wire off, you can just manipulate it with other bits of Taxus. I'll put another bit in here. And at this stage, because you've got quite a lot of wire on initially, you might start being able to shove it in to the wire. So you're shoving it in, sorry about this. Placing it in. So rather than putting it in between, you're not aiming to put it in, shove it in between these, you're aiming to put it in under the wire you've already wrapped round. There we go. Okay. So now, as you get fuller and fuller on the top, what you can do now is try and manipulate which bits you want sticking out and which bits you want tied in. So for instance, this bit here, I'm thinking unless I'm doing a sweeping down wreath, which you can do, I don't really want that there. You don't want to cut it off, because if you start cutting everything off, you're going to have the ends showing, and that doesn't look nice much, and it also doesn't make your wreath as full. So what you want to do is think, all right, okay, I don't want that. So you just get your wire and you just thread it around, and now it's just tied in a bit here. And I'm thinking, okay, around here, this is a bit up in the air. So I'm gonna go around. Now at this stage with your wire, because I quite like the look of this on this side, I don't want to bind it all in unless you're doing a very tight wreath. Now I'm just going to go under the greenery and manipulating it so you can't see the wire on the top, because I don't want to tie any more of this in until I get round to this bit here. Okay. And I'm doing that bit. So has everybody got to this stage who are doing the second layer?
Nearly finished the second layer.
Yeah,
Not quite finished. Not
good. How are we doing here? It's looking a bit, all right. And you know, you've got to keep stopping and hold it up. When I'm doing this at work or other workshops, I have a hook on the wall and I keep putting it on and thinking, all right, you know, because sometimes you're that busy wrapping the wire around, you're not actually looking what the shape everything's coming out.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, and start looking, and at this stage you can start thinking, all right, where am I going to put my bow? Which is going to be the top, which is going to be the bottom? Sometimes it's just obvious and other times it's not. I have a partiality to put my bows up the side and sweep down my bows. So I'm thinking, oh, okay, I might start concentrating on this bit. This is my bow going to be here. And then my other foliage is going to go around here. So that's it. I've got a few more loosey-goosey areas, but I'm not too worried about that, because as I put my other foliage in, I can tie those in with it. That's all. Okay. So is everybody caught up with that? Yeah? Sort of? So is the front full? So I've got the front pretty full. You can see I've got this up here, but I'm not too worried about that because I'll tie things in as I'm going along. Because don't forget, this is only your non-fancy layer to basically cover the wreath. So that's all you want to do. When I'm working with pine boughs, or you've got the big boughs, sometimes at the end of the boughs, the needles depending what genus of pine conifer you've got, are quite blue. So sometimes I cut those off and save them for the end because I want to tuck those in, and because they're quite nice foliage. But the rest of the bough I just use as the base covering. So it all depends what you're using. I usually get the greens for the workshops from the wholesalers in Edinburgh, in West Gorgie and Van Fleet, and they deliver, you know, at their at the moment they go at £6.10 for a big bunch, and out of the big bunch I get 3 wreaths. So, you know, it's not bad price, and even though it's a wholesalers, anybody can go. You don't have to be a member. So okay, so I'm thinking, all right, that's not too bad. It's going along, doing it that way. So the next stage is deciding what you want to put on top. So is everybody at that stage now?
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know what everybody's got. I've got some juniper. I've got some Chamaecyparis. I've got a bit of ivy. I've just been out this morning and got some ivy. And I quite like the ivy with the seed heads on here. They look quite nice, and you just tuck them in. What else have I got? Got the Chamaecyparis. Oh, the Chamaecyparis is a little bit dry. I've got some, let me get I've got a bit of spruce here, which is a bit spiky, so I'm really dealing with this. So I think I'm probably going to be putting some of this on next. And I've also got some black pine. And the black pine I got up from the hills, and some of it has got already little cones on, because I've actually forgotten to bring my pine cones down. Oh, but you'll get the idea. Yeah, so you can you see there's some little cones on here already? So I quite like using that. And I'm getting a bit buried in foliage here. So this is the spruce I was talking about, and you can see it's got a bit of a bluey tinge to it, which is quite nice. And then I don't know whether anybody's got holly in their garden or anywhere. But I also got some holly, which I'll put in at the end. The berries weren't that great. There's a massive big hedge up away from me. Last year, it was absolutely chocker with berries. This year, not so much. All depends. But yeah, so I won't put that on till the end. And sometimes after I've put it up after a week, there's no berries because the birds have come and got them, but that's absolutely fine. If you don't have holly, but you want that berry look, I've got some pretend berry things here, and I just twist around onto the foliage, and that just gives it a pretend berry look. Yeah. Okay, so has everybody got their other foliage? Yeah. And so basically what I'm going to do, so I don't want, so for this one, if I plonk that on, it's a little bit too big. So at this stage, I'm going to get my secateurs, and I'm going to cut the bits off like this. And then this is when I said about when you start tucking in the wire, what you've been wrapping round and round and round. You're still not going to cut the wire off yet. That stays on till you finish the top. And now you can see the wire. And I'm just going to start tucking in under the wire like that. Yeah, don't worry if you can see the wire, you can see the end, because if you're going to put some cones on, some lotus cord, some oranges, they will go over and they will hide it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go around now, and I'm just going to start tucking in and with the pine or anything else that you want to use. Like I said, it's a bit tricky if you wanted to make a whole holly wreath. It is a bit difficult on your hands, and I don't really like doing it. Some of the juniper, these little bits I've took, once I've put the second layer on, then I'll pop those on top. And again, I'm just going to be tucking them into the existing wire, what's there. So I've got some more pine here, so that's not too bad. It's still a little bit too big to put on, so I'm going to cut it down. And try and cut it down so you've got some of the stem left here, and then that's the bit what you can tuck under. So we're just building up the next layer. So I think I've decided as I'm going along, but sometimes you don't really know what you're going to do until you actually start doing it. And then you think, oh, right, I'm going to do a bit of this and a bit of that. And that's why I find doing the workshops, and I've been doing it many, many years. And I actually learned how to do this when I worked on a wreath table in the United States at a garden centre I worked at. And this is huge business there. That even though everybody in the workshop is using the same materials, everybody's different because they're approaching it in a different way. And it's really quite nice to see that they don't all come out exactly the same. Some are a little bit more free-form than others, and some are a little bit tighter. So there we go. So I want a couple of more bits of black pine. These bits, the ones I've cut off, I don't generally use, but I probably save them and put them in my pots outside my door or whatever. So that's why I just throw the things on the floor I don't want. That one I probably wouldn't use because it's a bit sparse. Got one more here. I'm going to cut that off. That off so I can tuck it under. I think I need to put my glasses on this year. I can't see what I'm doing. Right. And again, once you start going one way, clockwise, anti-clockwise, it's quite nice to keep going the same way. You don't have to, but it's quite nice. Okay. So you can see I've still got my wire attached. Now I've got my wire attached because this one here is good because it's a bit loosey-goosey. So I'm just going to wrap that round and tie it on. And I'm thinking I don't want that bit sticking out like that. So I'm going to weave the wire in between because I don't want to tie these other things down, but I want to tie this bit down. So I'm just going to weave it in and tie it down that way. Okay, and now I'm thinking, all right, I don't want that there in the center, so I'll probably tie that in as well. So I'll go back, weaving in and out, and tie that bit in, like that. Okay, so that's coming on all right. Okay, and this one here is a bit floating, but I think once that I put my other bits of foliage in, my juniper, that'll hold down nicely. Okay, and my wire is still attached. Okay, how's everybody getting on?
I'm just
Awesome.
watching you.
Is it working all right?
Yeah,
So
I'm just watching you
Oh, all right.
because
So
I've got a conifer. I didn't have any rings. I couldn't find any of the rings that you're using. So I've actually built a heart shape, but obviously you can see it's very, very bare. Can you see it?
Oh, yes, yes.
Yes, it's very bare. So I'm just watching you, how you're building up the layers, because I have got a couple of conifers in the garden. So, you know, I'll do that, but I'm just watching you at the moment. That's as far as I got.
You don't even need the ring. So when I did with the willow, I managed to find the green. You know, it was a bit oval shape, and still it's not a circle. But you know, you can manipulate things.
Oh yes, I'm not worried about that. Yes, yes.
And also, if it's just the conifers you've got, if you've got big boughs, you know, you can just scrunch them together. That's why the binding is good, because then you can just make the ring out of the foliage rather than have the ring.
Yes, I'm just going to build it up a bit, so it's fine.
It's like the garden. I always say, you put enough plants in, it looks good.
Yes.
Put enough foliage on, it'll look all right. So now at this stage, you're probably thinking, this is getting a bit heavy, which you will do. So, you know, it's ideal if you're putting it on a good sturdy hook outside, or you've got one of those door hook things. Right, okay, so I'm building this up, and I might actually be getting to a stage where I can cut my binding wire off, which is, you know, the defining moment is that you've got your ring covered. So, because the other bits I'm going to put on, so I've got a little bit of gap here with the pine, so I don't want that gap there, so I'm going to try and find a bit more pine in my bag here. Yeah, so I'm just going to cut that bit of that off. And you can see here I've got the gap, you know, the pine's going all the way around. I'm just going to shove it under the binding wire that's already there. It's a bit loosey-goosey, so you're shoving the end. I've still got my binding wire here, so I'm just going to pop it around.
How do you secure the binding wire?
At the end, when you cut it off,
I've had to use it to tuck in thick bits, and if I just simply cut it off, the thick bits might escape.
yeah, so once you come into the end, so at the back of your wreath, there's always bits. Can you see here? The ends of the boughs, which are quite chunky. So I've got my binding wire here. I'm thinking now, this is a good spot to cut it off, because I can wind the binding wire around that chunky wooden bit to secure it, and now I can cut it off.
Good. And it's just a few turns.
Pardon?
Just a few turns. You don't.
Yeah, and just keep, you know, winding it round. But you can see it's quite a secure wreath now. You know, it's not exactly the shape I want it, but it's a bit, like I said, I normally do this standing up, and I'm finding it a bit difficult sitting down seeing it, but but that's okay. Okay. So we've got the wreath. So we've got at that stage now. So now this is the stage where we can start decorating it. We start decorating it with foliage, other foliage, and we start decorating it with the oranges or lotus pods, seed heads, whatever you, basically, you can put whatever you like on. If you want to do a themed wreath, which I've done in the past, you can tell that was in America, tropical wreath or whatever. you can do that. So now I'm thinking, I've got this ivy with some nice seed heads on. Not that bit. And my holly. So I ended up not using this because it's quite tough and it's quite spiky. So I thought, oh, you know what, that's a bit tough. But I've got some nice, so if I was going, and this Chamaecyparis, you can see, it's got a bit of a gold tinge to it. And once you start putting the other foliage on, it starts to lift the wreath up, basically. So I'm thinking, okay, I think I'll put a little bit of that on because I might just put a red bow on this. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, that's all right. That's okay. But you don't have to put the Chamaecyparis on. Some of it is lime green. That's quite nice, the Chamaecyparis. This bit is a little bit lime green at the bottom. If you like a more bluey tinge, then put some juniper on. This is quite nice. So I think I'll put this bit in here. So I wouldn't put it in. I'd try and take the bottom bits off again. So you've got something to manipulate under the wire like this. And again, you're just going to pop it on under the wire that you've got there. And then it just sort of nestles in like that. And there was a slug on that one. Oh well. So I think I quite like that juniper going around. So I'm going to start putting a few little bit more of juniper around. So again, I've got a little bit here. I just cut the tips off at the back. I mean, you can cut bigger bits off, obviously. And then, so once you start in doing the decoration, design principles are in odd numbers. So if you're thinking about 1s, 3s and 5s, basically, so it just makes it better, flow a little bit better. And I always like to do, it's like when you're designing a planting bed, you know, you put things in a triangle, you put things in odd numbers and triangles, basically. And then you're repeating that pattern to get some sort of rhythm. And basically, the same as anything that you're making. So I've decided I'm going to put this juniper on, but I'm going to put 3 on. I wouldn't put 4 on because to my eye that looks a bit weird. But I'm going to put 3 on from a design point of view. So I'm going to try and work in a, so I probably wouldn't put it opposite like that. So I'll put it off a little bit set. So I'll find, I need my glasses on. I'll find a bit of wire to manipulate the underneath. So you can see I've got 1 and then I'm going to put another one down at the bottom there. So I've got a nice one here. I'm going to take the bottom bits off. And then I'm going to manipulate this under here. I can see the wire, it's got a bit dark in here. Okay. So there. So you can see I've got 3 in sort of a triangle. Yeah. And then in between, in the other gaps, I'm looking at this ivy and I quite like the ivy. I've decided against the Chamaecyparis. I don't like the yellow tinge to it, even though it is a little bit goldy. I'm going for a different look. So we're doing that. And then, so what I'm going to do though, in between the green juniper, I'm going to put my ivy on a bed of moss. So like I said before, I'm just going to get a nice big chunk of moss. I'm going to put it on there. And I'm going to do that 3 times. Hopefully. So that's going in between the juniper I've got. And then so you can see coming up like that. So now what you want to do at this stage, if you are doing moss, you can leave it like that and use the picks, which I'm going to show you in a minute, how to secure it. But I don't really want to put any picks on top of my moss, any decoration on top of my moss, apart from the ivy. So I am going to break my own rule and go back to my wire, but I'm only going to do one tie. And when you put the wire into the moss, it sinks into the moss. And I probably wouldn't do this for anything else except moss. And then you can't see the moss anyway, because it sinks into it there. So I put the wire round, I've pulled it tight. How are we doing for time, Julie? Pardon?
Yeah, so we're absolutely fine, Penny. It's about 10 to 11, so you've got about 40 minutes.
Oh, right.
You've got plenty of time.
Okay. So that's secure, that moss. I've done a bit of the binding wire. Don't be tempted to use the stubbing wire, because that's, you can't manipulate that as much. Just keep to the binding wire. And I'm going to do that for each chunk of moss I've put on.
Penny, how did you secure the wire at the other?
I just twisted, so I'll show you. So I put it around the back. I cut it off. I'm actually using some wire cutters I've got, floral wire cutters, if anybody's got them, but if you've got a good pair of secateurs, it will cut the wire. So I've got my, wherever they are, my secateurs here. So I either use them or my wire clippers. So the wire cutters are better for the thicker wire. So I'm going to cut the wire off. Can you see okay at the back? Cut the binding wire off. You've got your 2 ends, you're going to pull it tight. And because there's so much foliage, the wire is being hidden. Yeah, but we don't want those long bits sticking up, because those are going to scratch the door. So what I'm going to do is cut it off a bit. And then what you do is you fold it in, U-shape, and tuck it and push it into the foliage. So you've not got any ends of wire scraping against your door.
Simple as that.
And that's it. And then I can't see which one I've attached and which one I haven't. There we go. That's the one not attached. And it sometimes, you know, keep your wire while you're wrapping it, rather than cut your wire and then wrapping it, because if you're anything like me, I always underestimate and I don't have enough wire. So we're popping that on. Okay, I'm going to cut it, find the end. Without my glasses, it's a bit tricky. And twist. It's a bit long, so I'm going to cut it down, and then I'm going to tuck it right in. And you'll do this when we start using the stubbing wire as well. Okay, and that's it. And I actually think I've got enough. Oh, I wanted some you see, I'm getting a bit carried away now. Now I'm thinking I want some ivy on it. It's getting heavy and heavy, but I want to put a little bit of ivy on. But I only want to put the ivy with the seed heads on. So I'm just going to take that off, take it down to a node, take these bits off again. So that's like, so So you'll hear me talking later saying a pick, and I'll show you what a pick is, but basically this is a foliage pick, and this is what you shove or place into your wreath. So this pick of foliage, I decided I like it. Well, I was actually going to put it on top of the moss, but I'm thinking now it's hiding too much of the moss. So, okay, I'll put it next to it. But I've got it in my mind, I want some ivy on here, so I'm going to put some ivy on here. And ivy is great. You could do a totally ivy wreath, and this is all over the landscape. When I lived in the States, it was really hard to come by in the landscape ivy for some reason. Lots of other conifers were fine, but, and you can see if you do one with two, and it just lays either side of the wreath, and you know, and even if you don't put any of the other bits and bobs on, your wreath with just the foliage and the ribbon is absolutely fine. I think it looks great. So I'm going to try and find another bit of ivy wherever it is. So that's a nice bit. So again, I'm going to be thinking in threes. Put 3 of things on. There we go. So I've got one there. I'm going to miss my moss. I've got my juniper here, and I'm going to put it here next to my juniper and pop it in. And you find as your wreath gets thicker and thicker, it might be a bit trickier to put your pick in, your pick of your foliage, but there's enough wire, enough foliage here, and that's pretty secure. So you don't have to wire it in, wire it on, if you've got enough wire there initially. So do we do another bit? Yeah. Okay, so I do this bit. Trying to find the bits with the berries on. Here we go. So I've got another bit here. And then I'm going to pop it here. Yeah. Okay, so we've got starting to build up. Okay, how's everybody doing?
Very well.
Yeah? I
Yes.
think I'm going to, let me get rid of some of this because I'm getting a bit immersed in foliage. I quite like that idea of being immersed in foliage. Right. And I've got enough greenery in here, I think, to make at least another 4 wreaths. So I make them for family. My family's in Lancashire, and I just pack them up and send them off. And I think it's a really nice thing. They're always really appreciative of them. And sometimes, you know, I've got younger relatives, and I make it a little bit more contemporary because, you know, they don't want something like this for some reason, but they like the willow ones with just a ribbon and a bit of ivy on or something. Okay, so we're a bit clear now. Okay, and we're doing this. And where I put the ivy in, you saw me putting the ivy in. That's what you do if you want to put holly on. I'm not going to put holly on this because I'm thinking I've got enough on here. And also sometimes with the red berries, and if you've got a different, if you're doing a contemporary one, for instance, with purple, or I've got some lime green ribbon, then this doesn't really go with it, I don't think. But you know what? It's everybody's individual choice. And that's it. So, are we all at this stage? Yes? Okay. Right, the next thing to do is, you know, you're wondering, right, okay, I've got these orange slices, I've got apple slices. Let me put that to the side. I've got the lotus pods. Again, I order these online from a wholesalers. What else I've got? The berries, if you're using the berries. I've got the oranges and the green oranges. So because the nice green of the moss, I think a nice green orange would be nice. So it's a bit weird because I always think this is a lime, it's a green orange, which is a bit weird. But this is an orange. So, but I mean, it looks okay. It looks okay. But I'm thinking on this wreath, and it's still in my attic, my lime green ribbon. I've got some lime green ribbon, and I think this will be nice, and I might just do a lime green wreath. So how do I get these things on my wreath? You're all asking. This is where the stubbing wire comes in. So the stubbing wire, so this is 30 centimeters, and then this is about 20, and it's a little, the gauge is a bit thinner here. So I'm looking at the wrong scheme. Can you see the stubbing wire okay? Yeah. And I just keep it in sort of like this, so I can get it easily. And what we're going to do, we're going to make a pick, basically a pick, out of, with the any bits and pieces what you want to put on. So actually I might put some nice lotus pods on. So with the lotus pods, they're really soft to put in. So we're just going to pop it in through, just a little, so a little bit comes out the other side, and then we're going to twist it around. And when it's a pick or a lollipop, whatever you want to do. And that's what we're going to make for everything. So at this stage, we don't want to see any wire at all. The oranges and the green oranges, you can see there's some the slits in it, and we're just going to put, I need my glasses on for this. And now this is where it can get a bit tricky sometimes. You just have to sort of manipulate it, but you can get there and it just come through the other side. You're making a pick, twisting it and making a pick. So decide what you want to put on, or at least think about what you want to put on, and you make your picks. If you want to put some orange slices on here. So you've got the, did anybody actually dry any oranges and apples?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think these are ones what I dried last year. Can't remember, I'll blend into one. You can put 2 or 3. Usually I probably put 3 because I like odd numbers. You're just going to put them, and don't put them through the center, just put them through the bottom. Make a pick. And then when you put them on, you fan them out like that, and you can't see any wire. The apple slices, a little bit more friable, so, but they're still okay. So again, your 3, put them at the end, not in the center, little bit of wire, and make a pick, like that. If you want to do a combo of apples and oranges, the same deal applies. Through the end, make a pick, twist it, and through. Okay, and I'm really cross with myself that I didn't bring any pine cones. So you know what? I might ask my husband to get them out of my car, because I want to show you how to, because pine cones, I always put pine cones on the wreath because I think they look nice. So excuse me for a minute while I just call my assistant inside. my technical assistant, because he set up all this video stuff for me. And I'll get him to bring some cones down. So has anybody else got cones?
Yes.
Yeah. And the cones I've got, I think the ones I got from the wholesaler, but usually I just go out in the woods and get all the cones.
My phone.
Pardon? I can't see, sorry. So yeah, exactly.
I use instead of apples and oranges, I have quinces.
Yeah, I've got a couple of quince. I've only got 2 quinces here. They look a bit
like bullets and they last forever.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
you can put them on
You
a
just-
stick.
Yeah, you do, everything goes on a pick. So if I want to do this one, you just pop it round, and then I've got a quince lollipop.
Yep.
And then, but this one, I think, oh, I might want to stick, keep the stick on because I quite like it. So what I do then, I'd probably place it on the wreath, and then I'd probably use a little bit of the binding wire because that's thinner, and bind that on. And that looks quite nice. This quince I'm going to put on these on the square wreath I showed you at the beginning. But I'm a bit quinceless this year because there's not many. Well, yeah, quinces, anything, dried apples. If you have whole apples, you can dry those. They look quite nice. So let me get me, sorry, I'll just talk amongst yourselves for a minute while I call my assistant, Ray.
So all of those of you who are actually making a wreath, it would be really great to if you would send in some pictures of them after they're finished, and then if you like, we can put them on our Facebook page completely anonymously if you like, and but it would just be great to show everybody what people make as a result of the workshop. So you can feel free to email a photograph to me at julie@scotlandsgardens.org. Or if you want to, you can WhatsApp it to me too on my mobile number, which I can give you if you email me. And it's actually, I think, at the bottom of my email anyway. So, but yes, this is just amazing, isn't it? I'm so enjoying this. It just looks fantastic. I can't believe where we are now from, where we started. It just looks amazing.
So, yeah, I mean, it builds up. Usually people are very happy with the wreaths because everybody likes to make stuff, and I don't think people realize what they've actually got in the garden and that they can use, or even if they just go walking in the woods. If you've got cinnamon sticks, you can use cinnamon sticks to do this, and the same thing with this. Now with this one, you can, if you want to use them singly, you use this and you make a pick by just popping it through the center, and you do it like that, and then you just going to wire it around and pop it on. And the key is to not seeing the protruding wire when you do anything like this. If you pull it tight enough at the back, because you've got a nice amount of chunky foliage on there, the foliage just hides the wire. Do it. If you want, I quite like to use some Hessian twine like this, and I take three, and I just make a little bunch out of them like this. See, make a little bunch. Tie it if you want the ribbon on it, or I just leave it loose. So you've got your little bunch like that. Then you get your stubbing wire and you make it a pick. The same. Twist it round and it tightens it up. And then you've got your three. And with your Hessian, I just leave it like that. I don't mind it. because I've got some nice hessian, I've got some jute, I've got some purple, and I've got some red here, you can see. So it all depends, you know, what you've got lying around the house basically, and what you, I mean, I use this in the garden for tying my beans up, you know. And that's that. What else? The berries, if you're using artificial berries, you can either do them in bunches, but another way of doing it is just popping them on. They're the pine, and you can see they've got some binding wire in between. This is how they come. You can get gold ones, silver ones, if you're doing a bit more glitzy one, and then just twist the berries round, and you can see it just nestling in there just a little bit, and you can't see the wire. But I'm not going to put red berries on this one, I've decided. Okay, so the next stage now, and when the pine cones come, I'll show you how to pick the pine cones, is to actually put the picks into your, so has everybody got anything like this, or at all? Have you got stubbing wire, or who are making up that? Oh, there you go, right, smashing. So now we've got a nice stick. Let me just put that out. So I'm not going to put, I'm going to use green, aren't I? Decided on this one. Okay. So I like to use the longer, thicker wire, just because it's a bit tougher. And then but I'm going to put a lotus pod on anyway. So what we're going to do, you're going to decide where you want it to go. So I want this nestling just next to the moss here. And what we're aiming for is the end of the pick to go through the gap in between the two rings. You won't be able to see the gap. So it's basically just feeling your way through. Yeah? And you pull it through, pull it down, and it just nestles in like that. Okay? Now, if you're doing a collection of things together, say you just want to do something at the bottom or the top, rather than do one thing each way, I actually like to put a combination of things together. So if I want to put one of these and an orange, I'll put it through. And again, thinking threes. Okay, and you're just popping it through like that, and it just nestles in. And with it being on wire, you know, you can manipulate it a little bit round. So now the bit, so I'm going to put, what else should I put? Where's me? Where was that cinnamon stick? You know, just for demonstration, I'll put the cinnamon stick, but for this combination, I might keep it there. Doesn't really matter. Put another one in. Put the cinnamon stick there. Okay. So you've got your little collection of picks, 3, and then at the back, you've got your 3 wires. And this is where it sometimes gets a bit tough if you know, you've got a bit of arthritis in your hands. I like to bring the wreath off the edge of the table so I can hold it underneath like this. And basically what we're going to do is we're just going to twist the wires together tightly and try and pull them as tightly as you can, so the ornaments at the front lie nice and still, so they're not moving much. You can see now they're not moving much. Okay, and like we did with the other wire, we're going to cut it off, and this is where I will use my wire cutters rather than my secateurs. Because it'll chip these, because it's the thin Japanese steel, so I don't want to ruin them. So I use my wire cutters, cut most of the off, So you've got some stubs like that. And then again, we're going to make a U-bend and tuck it in. And it's not scratching against your door. And that's it. And that's how you fix anything on. Yeah, does everybody, yeah, got that? Yeah, I've got two screens, I don't know, I keep looking at this one and not that one. So, yeah, so, all right, and then you can keep, if you want a collection of stuff, just in one place. I tend to, like I said, do 3, 5, 7, whatever you want. You want a nice big chunky bit. You could do the same as I've done before, where you put in 3s of things around. So I'm going to do a collection here, a collection here, and a collection here. But at this stage, you've got to remember that because I like bows, I want to put my bow on. So I'm thinking, well, where am I going to put my bow? And which bow am I going to use? You know, you can use a natural one, but with a bit of gold on. And then, you know, you might want to put it at the top and it just at the side like that. So you've got a big collection of, so if I want to put another, say I'll put some apples here as well. And then I'll put some sliced oranges. You might want to put 3 oranges, whatever, the same thing. Put them again. So I've got 3, I've got 5 things there now. And I tie them off. Let's see if I can see it. So because I think, oh, I like my bow at the side, I put it diagonal to the big bunch of stuff from a design point of view. Yeah. Or you could put it immediately at the bottom so the bow becomes part of your combination, or at the top. Well, sometimes if you do it at the top, it hides, the tails hide the combination. So I put it like that, and then I'm not hiding the nice moss on the other side. And when my pine cones come, I'm going to do a little collection of pine cones on the other side. So I'm thinking, well, should I do that? Or do I like that? Whether I want it natural. So, you know, with this, with the Hessian and the bit of gold.
I think I've got a question, Penny. Have you got a question, Carol? Just need to unmute. Just 1 second.
Please, can you show us how to make the bow?
Yes, of course.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, so I'll show you how to make a simple bow. So this is a combination bow. So when I've done this, I'll probably put that on there. If, like I said, you know, just figure it around. What I'm trying to say is, don't think that your bow just has to go to the top or has to go to the bottom. So it's a unique design to you. So what I'll do, I'll show you how to make a bow. I've done a 6 loop. So if you want a traditional red, so I probably wouldn't put red that if I put oranges on. You can see, I saw somebody, Trish, you're shaking your head. You just know when you start doing things, it don't look right. Yeah. But if I had some holly and I had the berries on here, it would look great. And that pine cones, yeah. Burgundy, would burgundy go? No. Not really. It's a little bit better, but not. The check, not too bad, because you've got the beige in the check. So it all depends. So sometimes well, it's 10 years now, but they're still doing the wreath table. It's as busy as ever in the States. The first question I always ask people is, go and choose your ribbon. And then you did the wreath to match the ribbon, basically, because that's what was more important to people for some reason. So anyway, and I like ribbons, and I've got, you know, this is my favorite one with magpies on, and I love this ribbon, and take it off every year. I iron it and put it away till the next year. I never get bored of it. And it's wired ribbon, which we're going to be using, which is the best, but you don't have to. So that one was a bit more flashy. So, but I've got many ribbons. Many ribbons. So that's that.
And I'll just tell everybody now that Penny very kindly has done 2 videos for us of how to tie a ribbon. So when I send a link to this particular recording, I'll also send you a link to the 2 videos of the ribbon. One is a single colour ribbon that Penny's done for us, and the other is a 2-colour ribbon that Penny's done. So even if you don't quite get it this time, you'll be able to follow it step by step on the great videos. Okay.
Okay, so right, this is the crunch. This is the bow making section. Okay, so what if I do a natural ribbon, which is probably, can you all see that easily, or is it better if I use a bit brighter one to do the bow? Does it make any difference?
No, I think either, Penny, is fine.
Okay. So what we're going to do, have you all got your ribbon with you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And have you kept it on the spool? Is it on the spool?
Yes.
No.
Yeah. So what we're trying to avoid, it's a bit like the binding wire, is don't cut the ribbon until you've made the bow. So first of all, you've got to decide where your bow's going to go, how many loops you want, and how long the tails are going to be. And where do you want them hanging down, or do you want them tied in? So usually I do about 12 inches, about 12 inches, that much, yeah? So for this bow making, you want your stubbing wire, and your pair of scissors, wherever my scissors have gone, okay? At the end, okay. So what you've got to remember as well is that as you're making the bow, it's as though it's basically you're making it as you're seeing it. And you're keeping it in that position the whole time. So your hand is going to be facing you the whole time. Put your glasses on for this. Yeah. And if your hand gets a bit tired, just pinch it and release it and just give it a bit of a rest and a straight, but it's much easier if you just keep your hand like that. So basically you're going to get your tail where you want it to end, and you're going to pinch it, put it in between the collar of your thumb and your forefinger, and that's still facing you. So for you, it'll be like that at the front, okay? That might be easy. Will it be easier if no, it won't be easier if I hold it like that. So basically it's facing you, and you're going to make your loop, and you're working from side to side, left to right, right to left, whichever hand you're using. So you're not doing all the loops on one side and all the loops on the other. You're just going to loop. So you do a loop, the size of the loop that you want. Okay. This is not wired ribbon, so it's a bit more loosey-goosey, but it's Hessian, so it's quite stiff. You can gauge the width of the loop by just putting your hand like that. So then when you do the other one, you can think, all right, that's the same size. But at the end, by holding it like this and not wiring it off till the very end, you can manipulate your loops. So you're going to go to the right, if you're holding it in your left hand, and you're going to do another loop, and you're going to pinch it down again. So basically you've got that. And if you wanted only a 2-loop ribbon, this is where you'd stop. And again, so for the 3rd loop, it goes on the other side, you pinch it down, you hold it between your thumb and your forefinger and the collar. And then you're doing your 4th one on the other side. And your hand is still facing you. You're looking at it as though you're looking at it on your wreath. That's how you're going to look at it. Okay, so you've got 4 loops like that now. Everybody got 4 loops like that now? Yeah. So the next 2 loops, again, you can keep at 4 if you wanted to keep it 4. Well, you know, 6 loops is a nice bow, because then the other 2, you're going to make the 5th loop a little bit shorter. So you know when you see a bow and you always see the 2 top ones a little bit shorter, and you're going to put that a little bit on top, and it's a little bit shorter like that. And then you're going to do the same on the other side, like that. Now, as I'm doing this and doing 6, and the Hessian's quite thick, it's getting a little bit hard on my hand, but just keep pushing it in with your other finger. And basically, this is your clamp. Okay, so you should have it like that now. Yeah, and don't worry if it's all a bit scrunched up. You can manipulate it once you've wired it off at the end. How's everybody getting on? All right. Good, good. Okay.
Yeah.
So at this stage, when you've got your 6 loops, I'm going to make a flat middle on this, but first of all, we've got to wire it off and then we can release our hand. So you're going to take your stubbing wire, yeah, and these 2 fingers here, you're going to pop the wire in between, and then you're going to bring it round, and it's, if you're using your left hand, it's to the right of your thumb, and you're going to just encase the whole center, squeeze it tight, bring it back in between your 2 fingers. Yeah, and at this stage you can release it a little bit and just pinch it, and then we're going to twist only once and then butterfly these wires out to either side. And then you can release it, and you've got it at this stage. Okay. So I'm going to do a flat middle to this. You can do a loop middle like this, but most people usually like a flat middle. So what I'm going to do now, can everybody see if I do it like that? I'm just wondering how to do it. So you've got your ribbon, which is still on the reel at the front. So you're going to take it to the back, pop it round to the front, twist it up to the front. And when you get to the back again, you're going to twist the ribbon and it goes facing with the other tail. And it's not so important on this Hessian because back and front are the same. But if you were doing something like this, you twist it at the back because you don't want the plain side showing. And once you've twisted it at the back and you've got your tail down there, you've got your butterflies of your wire here. You bring it round and you tie it off by twisting just once. If you twist too much, people think, oh, twist, twist, twist. You end up with a big chunk of stubbing wire, and it doesn't like lay flush against your wreath. So just once is enough, and you can see that's fairly secure. So at that stage, and then when you've got it here, you can manipulate the loops around as you want it. And there you've got your bow, and you cut it off. I like to do one tail longer than the other. And I'm going to do it on the diagonal here. And I'll do it on the diagonal here. And there you've got your bow. And by doing it this way, you've got your bow on a pick. And that's what you put through your wreath, and you secure it at the back of your wreath. So like I said before, everything what you put on your wreath, you make into a pick. It's much easier and it's more secure. So I'm going to put this on here at the bottom. And I'm just going to push the pick through here. Like that. I've got, by putting these on afterwards, I've already got some loose wires at the back, you can see, of my apples and oranges. So I can twist all these together at the back. Hopefully. Yeah. I've got them all, so that's my picks, the wire of my picks, that's the wire of my ribbon, and I will twist it all around a couple of times only. Again, we don't want too much twisting, collar, whatever you call it, on the ribbon. Cut this off, fold it into a U and tuck it right into the foliage so it's nice and smooth. And then we've got our ribbon and our whatever, wreath thing, whatever, like that. Everything's secure. So I've done everything on one side, you can see. Because as I said at the beginning, I do tend to put things on the side. But you can equally do this at the top or the bottom, but you would put your ribbon on a different angle if you were doing that. Okay. Any questions? Clear as mud? So, all right, the next stage is, okay, how am I going to hang it up on the door? So that you can do a couple of things, which is nice. You could either use ribbon, so you could thread it through here, the same ribbon, and hang it up with ribbon, like that. Or if you want to put the hook on, you get your stubbing wire. So you get a stubbing wire. Actually, I'll get 2 stubbing wires, make a hook. And you can use a floral tape. This is what they use to cover the wires, floral tape, and it's a little bit sticky. But you don't have to use this. You can just use the wires on their own. But if you're using this, again, it just makes it a bit softer against your door. And it's sticky. So what you do, you just leave it hanging, and you don't twist the tape, you twist your wire, and it just naturally goes down. And because it's sticky, it just comes down. And you've got your tape. So it just finishes it off quite nicely rather than having a burr wire at the back. Twist it. So again, and this, you're not twisting the tape, you're twisting the wire, and it just goes down. Break it off. Find out where you want to hang it up. So I think I'm naturally hanging it up this way, I think. Mine, yes. Yeah. So find where you want to put it. So this is where you want to now. It sometimes gets a little tricky. So you're going to put this underneath all your back foliage, what you did at the back. It's going to push up like that, up at the back. Yeah. And because I don't want to see any wire at the front, I'm just moving this around the back, and I will tie it off, give it one twist at the back. Okay, like that. Then I will just make a loop, so that's your hook. Can everybody see me? And then you're just twisting those around the circle that you've made for your hook. and there's your hook, like that. So it's a nice soft hook to hang up and you can't see it. And apart from one last thing, that's it basically. To keep it nice and fresh, you can use, well, actually they don't sell anti-desiccants in this country, but you can use hairspray. Use hairspray. Just spray it with hairspray and it will keep till spring. Any questions?
Can I ask a question, please?
Sure, is it Linda? Yeah.
Yeah. I actually live in an area up in the Shetland Islands where we don't have any trees or any hedges. So if I was making the wreath, artificial, would I just have to work with artificial greenery? Would I just use it in the same way?
No, you could use, can you grow willow? Like I said, I had the willow one. And you put twigs on there, or you can use like this. This is what I traditionally use at home. So you can see there's very little greenery on there. It's all my dried flowers. I've got the monarda, the salvia. I've got a bit of hydrangea, a climbing hydrangea twig bit, and it's still got the buds on the end. These red bits, raspberry canes, what I cut down, and this is just you know, some young wood, and I just nailed it together. Or you can use hessian and time it together. And then if you wanted a bit of greenery, well, this is still a little bit green. This is Verbena Douglasii, lavender spires, which is actually still flowering in the garden. I don't know whether anybody's noticed, but things are still flowering. And then this is just a little bit of greenery. This is a twig with some lichen on, and it's got green lichen, so that you've got a bit of greenery there. I've also got some twig, twigs like this, and you just put them in the bunch, you know.
Right.
But what I find sometimes, even though it's looking a bit dull, once I put the ribbon on, you know, it just lifts it up a little bit.
Okay.
But these are just twigs of, I think they're Aphagus. Yes, they are Aphagus. What else? This is a nice, and it's got like a yellow wheat, this lichen here. You can see it's got like greeny yellow lichen on. Yeah, you can, I mean, you can use anything. No, it doesn't have to be. These are rosette berries. It's a bit tricky, but I've got rose hips, you know, anything really. Don't think there's any limit to what you can put on a wreath. I'm trying to see, I had some really nice lichen, silver. So you can, you know, the lichen and it's silvery. So that's really nice. You can pop that on. Trying to see where it is.
Okay.
And the artificial stuff now looks fantastic. It's like artificial turf. It looks absolutely fantastic compared to what it used to look like. And some of the artificial greenery and flowers, you can't tell the difference. So yeah, do that.
Oh,
and then you can do that to your base. And just put the other twigs and bits on to make it look, you know, a bit more natural if you need it. But yes.
Thank you. That's good answer. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? So how's everybody done who's been making a wreath today? Have you all finished or is it in progress?
No, can I just ask a question, please?
Sure.
You mentioned hairspray, spraying with hairspray to keep it fresh. Was that correct?
Yes,
How does hairspray keep it fresh?
it's an anti-desiccant, so it will stop the needles dropping off.
Okay.
So at one time they used to sell anti-desiccant, and they do still do in the United States, but it's banned here.
Okay.
So, but they sell a lot of things in the States what are banned here. So, but hairspray works as well.
Great. Thank you.
But yeah, just spray it. I mean, you don't have to, you can keep spritzing it as well every day with water. Yeah.
Yep.
But as it dries out, you know, because once everything's cut, it's dead and it will start to drop. But yeah, I've done workshop with people who keep the wreath inside over the fireplace the whole winter, and it looks fine. Yeah. Any other questions? No? Okay.
Oh, well, Penny, thank you so much for coming and doing such an amazing workshop for us. It was absolutely a revelation. I couldn't believe what you could produce in such a relatively short period of time. And I'm certainly really keen to go and have a go.
Yeah.
And see if I can actually.
I mean, I think considering what's that, an hour and a bit? What,
Yeah.
I don't even know what time it is. You know, and you know, I don't think they compare to what you buy in, even if you buy a fancy one. When you made it yourself, I just think it makes it a little bit special. And I quite like sitting here with all this stuff, especially at these times. You know, it's nice and jolly, and you know, you get to go out in the landscape in your garden collecting and foraging. I absolutely love foraging, so and I enjoy it. So it's good to do things that you enjoy, basically. And the ribbon, you know, if you can order it online now. I get this from the wholesalers again, but this was like £2.50 for this whole roll. So yeah, you know, I think you know, you don't have to spend a lot of money, basically.
Yeah.
And once for next year, you take all the foliage off the ring and then you reuse the ring. You do it like that. And the same principles, if you're doing, so in the past I've done boxwood, kissing bowls. I don't know whether you're familiar with them, a bowl when you put loads of boxwood in, and you do then table decorations. The principles are exactly the same. So if you did this on a smaller scale, or on a long, you know, you use your foliage to make a long, that's your table decoration. You know, you make everything into a pick, you put them things in, so whatever you're using, make things into a pick. So if you're using an oasis, you use the small bits of foliage, the same as I did here, where I used the pine. I cut, strip the bottom leaves off, and then I tuck it in, and that's what you're doing. You're just building up the layers. Garland for your mantelpiece or around your stairs. Again, you use your binding wire. You get your long bits of foliage. So like the lady who did the heart shape one, your long bits of foliage, and you just keep binding them and adding, and you've got a garland or a stirred garland. So the materials are exactly the same. Whatever I'm making, I use the same materials. The only things that change perhaps are what things I put on top. If you wanted something a bit more glitzy, you would get, I think I've done, I think that, you know, like the poinsettia, artificial poinsettias, which look really good now, and they've got all bits of glitter on. Those are nice. Anything, but whatever you buy, what do? You make a pick. I can't emphasize that enough. And you don't cut your roll of wire until you've finished.
Can I say thank you?
No problem.
Thank you very, very much. It's just been amazing.
Hang it up, please. Does that mean me stop talking or hang the wreath up?
Thank you very much.
Can I show you my bow that I made following your instructions?
Yes.
Can you see it?
Higher, just a little bit higher.
Higher?
So that's
Yeah.
good.
Hey, what's in the
All I've got to do now is make a wreath to put the bow on.
Well,
Thank
you know,
you very much. Thank you.
hey, you don't even have to make a wreath. If you got the bow down, you could make loads of bows and just put those everywhere.
Yes.
Oh, Julie,
Yes.
Thank you very much.
can I say thank you?
Could you?
Julie,
Yes. Yes.
Can I,
please.
can I say thank you to Penny? I've been meaning to sit down and do this for the last 3 years.
Oh.
Oh,
Enjoyable.
oh, great, great. Oh, so, all right, the lady Helen says to hang the wreath up. I thought she was saying you hang it up.
Thank you very much.
So let's see if I can, I'll put it out here. And my husband has not been a very good assistant coming down without the cones, has he?
No.
I have to tell him off. He's not going to get a cup of tea when I get up there. So, right. So let's see if I can put it on the door out here.
Working
It's a bit rainy out there. Perhaps I won't
Can you
go
show us
out.
what you've done, Theo?
Hold on. There you go.
Tight alongside the boat, but you can get by.
Can you show us yours, Theo? Do you want to hold yours up?
It's a table decoration because we live in the windiest place in Scotland.
Oh,
Oh, that's lovely.
that's just beautiful. Wow.
Room on the table for both of us.
That's that's absolutely beautiful. Well done, you.
All right. So I'm not going outside, so let's have a look. All right, can you see it?
Just about a bit low. Perfect. Yeah, that looks great.
Lovely.
All
Lovely.
right. So
Oh,
that's
that's
and
nice.
I'm trying to think how much that weighs. It's probably about 1.5 kilos.
Yes.
I mean, it's quite chunky, you know. Well, the nice, you know, the ring, and you can't see the hook because I've covered it in that wire. I'm trying to see if I can see any gold ring. I don't think I can. And yeah, that's it.
That's great.
Yeah, my intention was to put the orange, the lime on here, which is quite nice. But I couldn't get, you know, it takes a little while to get the picks through keep saying limes, the green oranges. So when everybody's gone, I'll probably do that and make, what I'll do, I'll get my lime green ribbon and put these green oranges on, and I'll take a picture and send you to Julie and everybody, because yeah, so and it just sometimes it makes a little bit more contemporary. One year I did purple, black and lime green ribbon.
Wow. That's great.
Well, you know what, you got to cheer yourself up, haven't you? So and that's all.
Well,
yeah,
I know it's going to draw to a close now because it's 11:45.
that's enough time.
A huge thank you again to you, Penny, for doing this for us. It's just been a joy
Thank you.
to spend the time with you.
Oh,
Thank you very
can
much.
I just show you very quickly the cones?
Oh yes, show us quickly the cones. Yes, how to attach a cone.
So what you're going to do, you can see the cone, you know, the shape of the cone here. So basically what you're going to do is put the wire, manipulate it around the bottom, the cones, so in between, and then again twist it and make it a pick.
That's perfect, Penny. Thank you. Yeah,
Easy peasy.
easy.
So yeah, if everybody does or if you are doing a wreath or just a bow, it would be nice to see everybody's. You're going to put them online, Julie?
I'm going to try to. Yes, I'll try and put them all online, and we'll put them on Facebook. Theo, I don't think Penny saw your wreath. Do you want to hold it up again? Oh, and Carol as well. That's a beautiful.
Oh, Carol, lovely. Oh, I like that. Oh, wow, look at that.
On both of you. Absolutely.
Nice. Nice. Excellent. That's all right. So I'm not going to put mine out today, I don't think, because it's a bit windy here.
Oh. Well,
Wait till I put the
so please do send me pictures of your wreaths and we will post them. And thank you so much for participating. It was a real pilot for us to do this. Penny's been an amazing teacher and educator today, and you've all been wonderful participants. So thank you very much indeed for coming along, and I hope you've all enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, bye, bye everybody.
Bye. Bye. Bye.